Hi, I'm Kim Edelston with Entrepreneur and Innovation Exchange and FamilyBusiness.org. Today, I'm here with Nora Yousif, who's a third-generation financial advisor, and she was recently honored as a top 40 under 40 professional by the Boston Business Journal for going above and beyond for her clients. She often presents on personal finance and investments across New England, and she frequently contributes to TV and radio on NBC and has been published in multiple outlets, including Yahoo Finance, Forbes, and CNBC.com. So we're really excited to have you here with us today, Nora, and for you to share your insight on finance in entrepreneurship as well as in family business.
Sure, happy to be here.
Thank you. So let's first start with some advice for entrepreneurs. So what blind spots do you often see with entrepreneurs as they're trying to build their business?
You know, I do see a lot of mistakes from where I sit. And so I would say there are four main blind spots. The first one, when it comes to at least to personal finances, is that people have no sense really of how much they need to be able to keep the household expenses going. And you need to have a really firm grasp of what that is and what those numbers are before you start building on top of that business finances. And once you have an idea of what that amount is per month, then what you need to really do is make sure you have a good cushion set aside of 6 to 12 months runway, so that way you can sustain yourself and your household, not have that extra pressure, and not get your business off and yourself off in credit card debt from the get-go. So those are the two early onset blind spots I see. Then further, as the company starts coming along, as the structure is put in place, as the organization is there, this third blind spot I see is that business owners simply do not pay themselves. So my advice is check yourself before you wreck yourself, and literally check yourself. So give yourself a paycheck, write yourself a W-2. Oftentimes business owners will say, you know what, I'm not going to take any of the profits, I'm going to put it 100% back in the business, or they'll be profitable, but maybe, fudge the numbers so they don't pay any taxes. And they're really doing themselves a disservice. They're shooting themselves in the foot, because when it comes to their future selves, it affects something they're probably at least expecting, and that is their Social Security benefit. Now, when it comes to Social Security, it is not peanuts. I very frequently remind people, if there is just one working spouse that earns a decent way throughout the most of their career, over a 20-year span of retirement, you can expect to collect over $1.25 million. So Social Security is not peanuts. In fact, if you're collecting it today at 66, the maximum you can be collecting now is $2,800 a month. So it's a good chunk of change that you want to make sure is there and preserved for you. So when it comes to Social Security, they look at your 35 highest earning years. And if you have a big goose egg, $0 put in for several years while you're that business owner not taking a paycheck, you're doing yourself a disservice. And you don't have to pay yourself a lot. In fact, the heaviest weight on that calculation is for the first $6,000 of income. So it's that first tiny bit that has the biggest impact down the line. As for the fourth blind spot, it again affects your future self. So oftentimes when people leave corporate America, they're also saying goodbye to their beautiful 401k. Well, that's no excuse to not put money aside for your future self. You can use an IRA, an individual retirement account, where you can put away $6,000 a year, great. Aside from that, you can then graduate into what's called a SEP IRA, which is like an IRA on steroids. And it allows you to sock away as much as $56,000 a year, blowing those 401ks out of the water. And they're tailor-made for business owners when there's no other employees just yet, or perhaps it's just you and a spouse, where you can sock that money aside. And it comes from company dollars. All right, so then you get that business deduction that way as well. And the maximum you can contribute, again, is at $56,000 or 25% of what you earn. And then as your business expands, you can then consider the other options that are out there, like simple IRAs and then later on a 401k.
So what tips would you give to entrepreneurs seeking financing?
Yes, for those seeking financing, I would say two things, again, back to those blind spots. One is I see a lot of entrepreneurs making the mistake where they are spending so much time on getting everything perfect. and getting everything just right so that by the time they go to get that funding, they look as good as possible and the bow is neatly wrapped and tightened. And that really should not be the focus. The focus isn't so much on those crossing your T's. It's really all about having that velocity in the market and time in the market of 6 months plus where you have some sales that you can speak to and where you have some retailers that can provide some feedback. Another mistake I see too often is that people take the dangled carrot of equity or capital that's being offered and they devalue their companies too soon. So taking too much money, giving up too much too soon.
So now turning to your experience with family businesses, what skills do you recommend family business children and the next generation should have before joining the business?
Yeah, that's a great question. So in terms of skills, I would say there are, of course, the soft skills and the hard skills. So first, soft skills is speaking for those who are coming into the family business, and I can speak for that. I'm a third generation financial advisor during my family business. So I came in as a third generation, and we work with a number of family businesses as well. One that's actually on their seventh generation, which is pretty interesting. And so I would say advice there for the new generation coming in is a few things. One is, first and foremost, go get experience elsewhere. And the parents shouldn't be so quick to get the kids in the business. Make sure that they are exploring and that they really want to be there. One, they'll have a new set of appreciation for how things are running once they see what it's like in other places. And they'll get a sense of a new appreciation for a lot of the pros that come working in a family business. And so you want to be able to cut your teeth, one, on somebody else's dime, and also gain experiences that you're going to be able to bring back and add value to that family business. That way you're making a difference and people are seeing you in a different light as well because you're actually adding some value and you're being additive. And it doesn't necessarily have to be the same industry. Some really great experiences can come from a completely different scope of work because, of course, all experiences and skills are transferable. Something else you want to do too is if you're coming in new as that next generation is, listen, don't be quick to make changes left and right. So you really want to ease up and really just sit back and absorb and soak in a lot before you're coming in and feeling as though you suddenly have a grasp and you're ready to make changes. Again, that's part of getting respect from your peers and just making wiser decisions. And it's also good too if you see a certain category that or a project that's really difficult. Don't shy away from that project. Go after that project and take ownership of that because it's always more worthwhile to take the dirty job that nobody wants because you're going to move the needle more. You're going to learn more that way, and again, gain the respect of others.
So, what advice would you have for family businesses looking for financial advisors? And what do they even get out of a financial advisor?
Yeah, so I would say, you want to set yourself up with your right team. You have an arsenal of resources. So if you're an accountant, you've got your legal advice, and you also want someone looking at the financial piece of things. You spend so much time on the business and the business finances, it's good to have a third party take a look at things and also take a look at the personal side as well. So you want to work with somebody, first and foremost, who is a good style match, who you feel like you can open up with, you have an honest conversation, and that way you get the most out of that relationship. Secondly, you want someone who really takes a good holistic approach to everything and can speak to buy-sell agreements and why you should think of having one. And point out any weak spots in your business structure. Also be able to speak to benefits like healthcare and insurance and life insurance, which again, when in a family business, oftentimes a family business will fund that from corporate profits as a benefit to employees. Also looking at retirement plans, the 401k and the profit sharing plan, and setting that up in a way that you business owners can sock away as much money as possible. So somebody who has a good understanding of that is important. And then on the personal side, of course, the personal finance piece and your investments, but also since we're talking about intergenerational businesses and intergenerational wealth, you want to make sure you're working with someone that understands the estate planning process and the advanced tax planning. So you maximize the amount of money that stays in your family as opposed to going to Uncle Sam.
Very good. And I'll start with the same question I began with, but for family businesses. What are some of the blind spots for family businesses, particularly, let's say, second, third generation, as the business is growing? What blind spots do you see?
Yeah, so I would say three major ones. One is that lack of estate planning to properly get that done, and so that there's a really smooth transition of wealth and the business when someone passes away. And on that bright note of someone passing away, something else you want to be really paying attention to are those buy-sell agreements. So, for instance, if you and I are in a family business and we're sisters, and I pass away, my husband may feel entitled or feel he has some ownership in that business. And he sure does. I mean, there's value in the business, but you may not want to be business partners with him all of a sudden. So with that buy-sell agreement in place, it allows him to receive some monetary compensation that he can use to carry on with his family, and that does not affect the company, and you can go ahead and proceed and continue to run the company. So it's really important to have that kind of infrastructure in place that a lot of people just don't think or never get there.
And it sounds like those two issues in particular can prevent problems and help a business to survive to the next generation.
Exactly. And the unique problem with family businesses, not problem, but challenge with family businesses is that after 5 o'clock, you continue seeing each other. And you want to make sure that at Thanksgiving, you all get along and everything is still growing well and running smoothly, and you can all enjoy the holidays. So more important than any other type of business, you need to have these fundamentals in place and a really solid structure so that in your personal life, you can also continue to enjoy time together.
Thank you, Nora. This was excellent, excellent advice. Again, it's been a pleasure having you here. I'm Kim Edelston with the Entrepreneur and Innovation Exchange and FamilyBusiness.org. Thank you so much.